What's up, guys? Welcome to 5 things we learned from UFC 291. It was this weekend, it was crazy, and in this video I'll be going through the top 5 things that we learned and we can take away from UFC 291. I'm MMA Tizzo. Subscribe if you're new here, leave a like on the channel, and without further ado, let's get right into this video. Starting off with number 5, Alex Pereira at 205 is a legitimate threat to the belt, and to guys, it seems like he's got the title shot. Okay, he had a pretty good performance. Some people were saying robbery, but I will tell you they in fact are wrong, because Jan won the first round 10-9, obviously dominated, the round with the grappling. Then round 2 was Alex Pereira's round. He clearly had the edge in the striking. And then round 3 was a lot closer, and obviously Jan got the takedown at the end. However, he didn't really do much. In fact, to be honest, guys, I think Alex Pereira actually did more damage off his back. He landed 1 or 2 elbows, and everything that Jan threw missed. So, being a wet blanket, we don't like that in UFC, and it doesn't get you wins anymore. So I think, fair enough, Alex Pereira did in fact win that fight, and he looked good. His cardio, it was pretty decent considering they were in Salt Lake City. Obviously, the altitude gets to everyone. Jan was absolutely hanging out after the third. He literally looked like he was going to tap to exhaustion. It was really crazy, but Pereira looked like he could go for another round. And honestly, I think if this fight went 5 rounds, I could really see Pereira finishing Jan in the 4th. Jan looked absolutely done after that. He could hardly get up. He crawled over to his stool. He was really done, breathing heavy. He had nothing to say. He looked defeated. You could see it in his eyes. He didn't even complain about the decision, but honestly, he knows well and truly that he was just being a wet blanket because he felt the Pereira power and he did not want anything to do with that, especially in the later rounds after he was gassed, because one good strike and he would just collapse like a deck chair because he was absolutely shattered. And Pereira looked good, looked powerful, and most importantly, his chin looked even better. He took a few big shots and he just ate them. He didn't really get wobbled at any point. He took one, pretty big shot that I feel like would have wobbled middleweight Pereira, and he just took it like a champ, to be honest. He's looking more healthy. Obviously, he looked like, I think he was something like 238 pounds, maybe 228 pounds, I think, just before the fight, which is absolutely insane. So it just shows you how big of a guy he was. He, in the cage compared to Jan, so much bigger. This guy is a literal heavyweight. How he made middleweight, I have no idea. And the craziest thing is, guys, he was talking about moving back down to 185 if he becomes the lightweight champ. Honestly, I don't really think Dana wants that. I think Dana would rather he wins the belt at light heavyweight and then somehow they persuade Adesanya to come back up. And honestly, that's better for Pereira in my opinion, because Pereira will have a huge size advantage in that fight as long as he doesn't have to cut down that much. Because obviously 205 only has to cut a few pounds, then can immediately get back up. He'll be way bigger than Adesanya will be, and he'll have a huge strength advantage, size advantage, and he'll be able to defend takedowns much more easily and just absolutely boss Adesanya in the cage. And it seems to me, guys, that at this point, Pereira will be fighting Jiří Procházka for the vacant belt. I imagine that'll be in 4 or 5 months or so. Give Pereira a bit of time to rest up, but don't take too long, because as far as I'm aware, he's 36 years old, so he doesn't have too long left. He's still in his prime more or less, because light heavyweights, they do fight till they're older. So, but you don't want to waste any of his time. He's a he's a pretty big draw, very unique fighter. One of my favorites, probably my favorite fighter, just because of his stand-up skills are insane. And we learned that Alex Pereira is a threat in light heavyweight, and he has a very good chance at knocking out Jiří Procházka. I will be picking him out fight to win the belt. But we move on to number 4. Number 4, Derrick Lewis is not finished just yet. Honestly, guys, I thought he was done, and I was predicting Marcos de Lima to finish him in round 1, maybe by submission or knockout. I just thought he was going to be the sharper boxer and he was going to win. But Derrick Lewis proved me wrong, went out, flying kneed Marcos, and I was like, oh my God, what have I just witnessed? And then I thought Marcos was good. I thought he was chilling. He had pretty good recovery. He showed good recovery. So I will give him credit for that. Shoots back up. And then Derrick Lewis lands some good ground and pound. But we've always known that Derrick Lewis's ground and pound is good. Marcos kind of sprawled, tried to get into a better position, gave up his back. Derrick Lewis was on top of him, raining big ground and pound. And I was thinking, ooh, I don't know if you can get out of this. And sure enough, Derrick Lewis, he got it done. It took about 40 seconds. Fair play to him. Surprised he didn't gas out doing that, to be honest. But credit to him. He looked way more in shape this fight. Looked a bit more athletic. That's the quickest I've ever seen Derrick Lewis. The flying knee was really unexpected. No one could have predicted that. I guarantee there's not one person on planet Earth that predicted Derrick Lewis was going to flying knee Marcos tonight. So that was really crazy. And it just shows that maybe, Derrick Lewis can actually beat a lot of these guys. I think he beats a lot of these guys that are a bit slow starters. I think he does well against them. Anyone that isn't really a grappler, I think Derrick Lewis will do well against. So yeah, so Derrick Lewis certainly not finished. Let's give him one more fight, and then I think he will call it a career. He now has the most knockouts in UFC history again. So yeah, that's a good record to have. I think it's 14 or 15. So well done, Derrick Lewis. And yeah, congratulations. We move on to number 3. So number 3 is that Dustin Poirier will never be champion. And guys, we just have to come to admit it now. It ain't gonna happen, okay? He's just not good enough, okay? Has he got good boxing? Yes, but he got exposed last night by the better striker. And his grappling isn't good enough. So he's got holes in his game. And, you know, grapplers can exploit the grappling. And he clearly has striking holes because they got exposed last night when he got brutally knocked out. And even though he didn't retire, which I thought he would, I thought he was going to take his gloves off and retire. He seemed pretty intent after the fight that he was going to keep on going. He said he was in a good mood, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the CTE, to be honest. But yeah, but we've just got to realise at this point, Dustin Poirier will not touch the belt. That was his last chance. If he won this fight in good fashion, he could have got a title shot. However, I still wouldn't have picked him to beat Makhachev. But now, you know, he's multiple fights away from the title. So I can't see that happening. I can't see him putting a win streak together. And he's got tough opponents ahead of him. The younger guys are actually the better guys in the division now. He's going to be getting some hard matchups. He might, if he continues to fight, he might get Rafael Fiziev if he puts together a win. I don't know who they're going to do, but he needs to pick his last fight carefully. And I say have one more, try and get a win, and then retire, because that would be a nice way to go. But last night, you know, we have to face a harsh reality, and that is that Dustin Poirier will not become a UFC champion, unfortunately, which is a shame because he's a nice guy and surprisingly took the loss really well, which is crazy because this guy takes losses better than he takes wins. He's a sore winner, not a sore loser. Very crazy, but you know, took it well. And he seems in good spirits, and to be honest, he probably got like 2 million for that, so I'd be in pretty good spirits if I got 2 million for that. So yeah, well done, Dustin Poirier. And we move on to number 2. Number 2 is that the UFC are still making bad decisions. I don't know if everyone knows, but last weekend, Wonderboy was meant to fight Mikael Pereira. Mikael Pereira missed weight by about 3 pounds, which is 1.5 kilos, so it's not a huge weight miss, but it's still probably going to give you a bit of an advantage, I guess, in the cage, especially if you're going to try and grapple. And Wonderboy declined the fight. He said, no, listen, I'm 42, I don't have to do fights against bigger dudes. I don't really want to do that. I think it's a bit unfair, so I'm just going to get my purse and go. And then the UFC said, oh, no, you're not getting your purse. So I don't really know how they do that, because I'm pretty sure part of their deal is that if you show, you get your show money. Wonderboy showed, he made the weight. Mikael didn't, he messed up, so he obviously didn't get his show money. However, they're just penalising both of them. Wonderboy isn't getting his show money. I have no idea what's going on. He deserves it. He did nothing wrong. It's not his fault this fight fell through, and honestly, I don't blame him for not wanting to fight a guy 3 pounds heavier than him when, you know, if anything, you're doing the UFC a favour. You know, he's choosing to fight number 15 in the rankings when he's number 7, okay? That's, you know, he's a company guy for doing stuff like that, and he takes a lot of fights that no one wants to take. So, you know, he did the same way to Kevin Holland, you know. He's low ranked. Why would you want to fight him if you're a high rank? You want to be getting towards the belt. But Wonderboy didn't care. He took the fight. He took this fight against Mikael, and they're just absolutely trying to really shorthand him here, make him basically, the UFC are just being really tight with their money, and it's unacceptable. You know, big company, Dana White. This is why a lot of people don't like Dana White, because he does really stupid things like this, and it's just terrible business practice from the UFC. And obviously, you know, this is no surprise because it's Dana White we're dealing with. He does stuff like this all the time, always trying to underpay his fighters. And yeah, this is just terrible from a company man like Wonderboy. You can't be doing stuff like this to him. He's been nothing but, you know, amazing for the UFC. And this is how they repay him, which really just shows the core problems of the UFC and why Dana White isn't, you know, the amazing guy everyone says he is. Like Joe Rogan saying he's leaving when Dana White leaves. When Dana White leaves, as long as they get a good boss, it might save the UFC. It might make it grow as a company and as a better business. So yeah, that's what we learned from that. Moving on to the top number one thing we learned this weekend. And obviously the top number one thing we learned this weekend at UFC 291 is that Gaethje is improved. He is better. And most importantly, he is probably the best striker in the division at the moment. Honestly, he looked so sharp. And the introduction of the head kick, we have a new mythical fighter in the UFC, guys. It is Head Kick Gaethje. Because when he threw that head kick in the first round, I was like, oh my god, how does he throw that so well for someone that's never thrown them in his career? Literally never seen it before from him. He rarely does it. Then he just threw one in the first. It nearly landed round the guard, but it was so quick. There was no telegraph. I was thinking, wow, he needs to show that again. And in the corner, I was thinking, geez, if I was his coach, I'd be saying, head kick, it's there, it's there. Dustin ain't expecting it at all. And what do you know, second round comes out, 1 minute in, throws the perfect head kick just at the end of an exchange, lands so clean. Dustin practically, he tries to block it, he can't, wraps around his head, instantly drops him. One hammer fist, but Dustin was already done. He was completely out. He was absolutely out cold, Usman style nearly. Wasn't that bad, thankfully, and obviously I don't want to see Dustin get hurt because he's a nice guy. And then yeah, that was crazy. So honestly, Justin looked so sharp, looked amazing. He had good cardio for the, you know, the brief period we saw. His chin held up. He took a few big shots, but he was absolutely fine. He looked so much better than in the first fight. He was patient. He got the better of the exchanges. His jab was really good. And obviously, as we know, his leg kicks were good. They looked better than ever. He had even less telegraph on them than he normally does. So he's improving still, which is crazy because he's 34. And yeah, this guy, you know, he beat Fiziev. And Fiziev is insanely good in the first round, and he survived that and then beat him in the second and beat him in the third. So I think we've got to say that Gaethje is now the best striker at lightweight. I don't really think anyone else beats him. And, you know, he's got a solid chance at knocking out Islam in the first 2 rounds. But, you know, the issue is the wrestling, okay? When the wrestling comes out, Gaethje would, you know, you can't improve that much, the wrestling against Makhachev. But he's got a solid chance on the feet to knock Makhachev out. He's definitely better than him. Honestly, I might take Gaethje in a rematch against Oliveira, because I just feel like he actually has enough on the feet now to beat him. But he looked so much better, looked so sharp. I pick him over any striker in the division right now. And that, if that doesn't warrant a title shot, I don't know what does. What a performance, blown away. Also, hats off to Dustin, took the loss really well. And he said he had no idea that head kick was coming. He said he didn't expect that whatsoever. And I don't blame him, because I didn't expect that either. I mean, I didn't expect him to throw it. And when he did in the first round, I was like, oh my god, new mythical fighter unlocked, Head Kick Gaethje. And he needs to do that way more. He can do that against Makhachev if they ever fight. And it will really threaten him. He needs to throw knees up the middle too. I was getting a bit nervous when he kept on ducking his head, because Pereira was trying to knock him out with his knee. Mid body kick, but thankfully he was alright, and he dropped a killer performance. So that is the top thing we learned this weekend. Gaethje, head kick, new mythical fighter, and he is so improved. What a performance. Well done, Justin Gaethje. And yeah, that is the 5 things we learned from UFC 291. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new here. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. I think this is going to be a new series of mine, so stay tuned. This is going to be after every event. I'm doing it now. I am basically, this is mine. I'm coining this term, this series. So no MMA YouTubers better copy me, because this is mine now, okay? And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Join my members. Videos like this every single week, bonus videos on members. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.